Folks, the biggest crisis facing us right now in America is a truth crisis, a truth crisis. Yes, we're in a pandemic. Yes, there's a crisis in Ukraine, no doubt. Yes, inflation's terrible. But I'd argue to you the biggest crisis we face right now in this country is getting the truth. We can't trust the government anymore.
We saw someone's grandmother getting trampled right here behind us in a sight that we should never, ever have seen in Canada. And tonight that should tell us, and it should convince everyone that has wondered about the state of our government, that the system is hopelessly corrupt and broken. We can't reform this system. This system has to collapse, and we have to rebuild under godly, moral leadership. This leadership system that has produced these mandates, these ungodly officers and police systems that would trample their fellow man is unconscionable. It has to end. Every person has to be looking at themselves tonight in the mirror and thinking, can I continue supporting this system? It's time to pull our children out of the schools. It's time to pull our money out of the banks. It's time to turn off our TVs and cut our cable TVs. Bills to nothing. Our subscriptions should be canceled. Stop big media, big tech, big Hollywood, big pharma, big indoctrination centers, and big Wall Street. These systems have to collapse. That's the next step. This is not the end here. This is the end of the beginning. We go from here to build a community, to build communities of love, compassion, and care for our fellow man. The system that we see over on the Hill cannot be reformed. It is collapsing, and what we're witnessing here is an epic collapse of a corrupt system that has nothing of righteousness left in it. I invite each one of you, look at your families, look at yourself, and ask, can I continue to support this system? Or do I need to be exiting this system and come to a community of love, peace, compassion for our fellow man? All they understand is money. So it's up to each one of us to vote with our wallets and exit and enter a system of God's design.
It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed.
Not about ending the lockdowns and keeping businesses
once those measures are in place. Right, so he's even in the UK. His stance has been, yeah, we're going to get out of all it, but you have to have digital ID, and you have to have.
So
during
and
the war,
this is going to introduce the social credit score system,
right? So, all of that came from your question, which is, regardless of intention, how do people do that infiltration from within? It's not just Twitter. So back to the psychological operations. It's also embedding people in government who are subscribed to this agenda. Yeah, and the agenda of Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum is the same as the agenda of Tony Blair in this regard. They call it on their own website, they call it the Great Reset. That's what they say themselves.
Yeah, that's a bizarre thing to do, to openly. Why do you think they openly discuss it that way? And openly, because the Great Reset has always been this gigantic conspiracy theory among the online folks. Like, this is all part of the Great Reset. Well, when he wrote a fucking book called The Great Reset, you're like, hey, man, shouldn't you be hiding this?
And in 2017 at Harvard, he's saying, you know, we're going to basically, all of these world leaders will penetrate their cabinets with our young global leaders. He's open about this. He's open. Blair's open. During the Iraq War, Blair tried to bring in ID cards in Britain. He failed. Now he's back. And he's trying to bring in digital ID during COVID, right? So they're open about it.
So this is going to be this never-ending process to slowly move the goalposts
towards more and more authoritarianism, checkpoint society. It's all there. They told us this.
People have to realize this, right? This is important.
Yeah.
I have to say, when I mention our names like Mrs. Merkel, even Vladimir Putin and so on, they all have been young global leaders of the World Economic Forum. But what we are very proud of now is the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau,